It was a Tuesday evening when I first noticed something was off. The air in our home felt heavier, like a storm was brewing just beyond the horizon. My wife, Sarah, had been distant for weeks, but I chalked it up to stress. She'd been working late, coming home with tired eyes and mumbled excuses. I trusted her. I always had. But that night, as I scrolled through my phone, a message popped up on her screen. It was from my brother, Jake. Just 2 words. Tonight? My stomach dropped. Jake and I had always been close, or so I thought. He was the kind of brother who'd show up at 2 a.m. if you called him, no questions asked. But this felt like a betrayal I couldn't wrap my head around. I didn't want to believe it. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe it was nothing. But the way Sarah quickly grabbed her phone, her face pale, told me everything I needed to know. I didn't confront her right away. Instead, I waited. I watched. And the more I paid attention, the more the cracks in our marriage became impossible to ignore. The late-night work meetings, the sudden interest in going to the gym at odd hours, the way she'd flinch when I touched her, like my hands were made of fire. It all pointed to one thing, but I needed proof. I needed to see it with my own eyes. One Friday, Sarah told me she was staying late at the office. I nodded, pretending to believe her, but as soon as she left, I followed. She didn't go to work. Instead, she drove to a part of town I didn't recognize, pulling into the parking lot of a small, dimly lit motel. My heart pounded as I parked a few spaces away, watching her walk to a room on the second floor. And then I saw him. Jake, my brother. He opened the door, pulling her inside with a grin that made my blood boil. I sat in my car for what felt like hours, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. I wanted to storm in there, to scream, to demand answers, but I couldn't move. All I could think about was the life we'd built together, the promises we'd made, the love I thought was unshakable. And now, it was all crumbling because of the two people I trusted most. When Sarah came home that night, I was waiting for her in the living room. The TV was off, the room silent except for the ticking of the clock on the wall. She froze when she saw me, her eyes wide with guilt. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just looked at her and said, "I know." She broke down immediately, tears streaming down her face as she begged for forgiveness. She told me it had only happened a few times, that it didn't mean anything, that she still loved me. But her words felt hollow, like echoes in an empty room. I didn't know what to say. How do you respond when the person you love admits to betraying you with your own brother? The days that followed were a blur. I moved out, crashing on a friend's couch while I tried to figure out what to do next. Jake called me dozens of times, leaving voicemails that I deleted without listening. I couldn't face him. Not yet. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them together, and the pain was unbearable. Eventually, I filed for divorce. Sarah fought it at first, pleading for another chance, but I couldn't go back. The trust was gone, and without it, there was nothing left to save. As for Jake, I haven't spoken to him since that night. He's tried to reach out, sending texts and emails, but I've ignored them all. Some wounds run too deep to heal, and this one feels like it's carved into my soul. It's been a year now, and I'm still picking up the pieces. Some days are better than others, but the betrayal still lingers, a shadow I can't seem to shake. I've learned a lot about myself in the process, about my strength, my resilience, and my capacity to forgive. But some things are unforgivable, and sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who hurt you the worst.